Welcome back to my channel. This is the SRNA, and thank you so much for tuning in and coming back to my channel. I have so much to tell y'all, so much is going on, but let's go ahead and cue the intro. So it is finally time to talk about this semester. First things first, are you subscribed? Make sure you click the bell notification down below. That way you're notified every time I upload. And hello to all of my new subscribers. Thank you so much for following me, watching me, and tuning into like my wild and crazy lifestyle. But my name is Esther, also known as the SRNA, and I am officially a year 2 student in CRNA school, which is amazing. I honestly cannot believe that I've been in CRNA school this long. Like, I cannot believe that it's been a year. Like, it just seems so unreal. But it's been a year since I've been here. It's been a year since I moved from Georgia, packed up my entire life, my new baby, came here and started CRNA school. But I honestly have to say this year has definitely been hard but rewarding at the same time. I'll be starting clinicals later this year with, God willing, that, you know, everything goes well and we can actually start. But let me go ahead and just recap this entire semester. I do like to, you know, every semester, at the end of every semester, do like a reflection, and then I will talk about, you know, what's upcoming in the, you know, upcoming semester. This is like my personal way to kind of share, you know, like what I think I did well in, what I didn't do well in, and also kind of for me to reflect on, you know, going back and looking back at my videos and kind of just seeing like my progress and how I've made progress throughout this whole entire journey. So this semester I took 5 classes. I took Principles 2, Pharmacology 2, Regional, and I took Research and Biostats. So we'll start with the 2 classes that are not anesthesia related, or not anesthesia related. So biostatistics is basically a class that you take that's like more so has to do with like research and things of that nature, interpreting data, the data that you collect, running tests, multiple tests to show whether or not your data is valid, reliable, accurate, things of that nature. I passed that class. I mean, I passed all of my classes, obviously, but I actually think the class was fine. The biggest key thing that really helped me was attending the TA sessions. I felt like the TA sessions is what really helped me solidify the information and understand it. So if you're trying to take biostats as a coursework only class at my school, the biggest takeaway or the biggest thing that I recommend is definitely taking it as taking the TA sessions. I felt like the TA sessions is something that really helped. Fun fact I do want to say is I actually was supposed to take biostats and biostats and research last year as a coursework only. I did sign up for the class and everything like that. However, I was like 7 months pregnant at the time, and I honestly did not want to do any schoolwork at all. I just didn't really feel like doing any schoolwork. I just wasn't going to. I know many people in my class, there are a select few that did take these 2 classes years prior or a semester prior. So of course their load was a little bit lightened than mine. Was it difficult managing all of it? Yes. But I also am a hugest believer of time management, which I will be doing a video very, very soon about time management. So be on the lookout for that. But I just feel like when you plan out your time and you really know and understand like your assignments, when things are due, and really taking advantage of whatever free time you may have, I really feel like you can be able to tackle like a busy course load. So my biggest recommendation for biostats was definitely taking the TA sessions. That really helped me with the assignments. The exams weren't that bad because I felt like after the TA session, I learned so much from that TA session that I was able to understand the material as far as like taking an exam and all of that. I personally don't like to talk about grades, if I don't think I really have talked about a lot of grades on my channel. But I'm actually really proud of this semester. I made an A in this class, so let's go ahead and talk about research. So research is like your basic research class. With DNP coursework, you are doing a huge research project. You're doing a capstone project at the end with most DNP based programs. So of course I have a huge research project. I can't speak today. So research is definitely like the foundation of whatever you're going to be taking, like the classes I'm going to be taking next semester are research based and everything of that. Like your DNP courses are a lot of like writing papers, research, things of that nature. So one thing about me is I hate writing papers. I just hate it so much. I do. But I know I'm gonna have to learn to love it, or just have a love-hate relationship with it, because literally all of my DNP classes are about writing papers. So I kind of have to get used to it. We did have 2 group assignments, which I actually hate group assignments as well. And I hate group assignments only because I feel like with me being a type A personality, I'm always left doing the bulk of the work because no one like wants to do anything. But I do have to say this group assignment wasn't bad. Like everyone participated, everyone is very helpful. I got a lot of good feedback. I felt like we just cohesively did well. So you have 2 group assignments, you have 2 papers, and then you have like 4 quizzes. Yeah, which I'm actually really surprised, and I actually really am happy with myself, because with the 2 papers that I wrote, I got an A, which was really, I wouldn't say really shocking, but just really surprising, because I don't think I'm really good at writing or writing a paper. But I really utilized the writing center to my advantage. That is something that I will probably continue to use till I'm done with school. And then using my peers and my classmates as well. You know, having peer reviews, having them edit my paper, using the writing center, really following the rubric. That is something I absolutely did. So when I write my paper, I literally pull up the rubric right next to my paper, and I go through each of the requirements of the rubric, and I make sure that my paper is written in such a way that it incorporates every little requirement of the paper. I feel like that's super helpful, because I mean, I did well on both of my papers, and I was actually really surprised. Not saying that I can't write, but it's just like, okay, you know a little something, okay? So that really made me feel good about myself, as far as like, okay, so this is what I want to start doing, is really incorporating the writing center, you know, making sure that I use the rubric provided, and really just going line by line and making sure that everything that they're looking for is in my paper. The second paper was actually the hardest paper, because it requires so much more work, details, and things of that nature. What I got counted off for was because I missed like some like key points that I like didn't quite understand, and I felt like I was gonna already miss them. But I'm just glad I passed that class. I also got an A in that class as well, so I'm really thrilled about that. So that was research. Now let's go into my anesthesia classes. So principles, I think out of all of my classes, what would I say is like my favorite that I've learned so far? I think really learning about the drugs is really interesting as well, because when you're an experienced ICU nurse, I mean, like, you know your shit. Like, you're like, I know my shit, I know my patients, I know my drugs, all of that. Like, you do, like, you just have this confidence about yourself. But when you're in CRNA school, let me tell you, you don't know shit. Like, they make you feel like, damn, I'm stupid as fuck. Like, they really do. Like, it makes you feel like I didn't know nothing at all. Like, it will bring you down and humble you so quickly. Like, so quickly. And it's not that you don't know it, it's just like, it's a different way of learning, and you're just learning so much more. And it's like, it's honestly like, if I would have known the information I'm learning now as an ICU nurse, I would have been like, that bitch, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, you just know, there's certain things that you just don't know. Like, you don't know everything. And so just learning about how the drugs work and why you would give it to this particular patient versus this one. But I would honestly have to say, learning about my drugs is probably my favorite thing, and also regional. Yeah, I think I would say regional would be my favorite thing so far that I've learned. So principles 2, I've mentioned this before. So a lot of schools' curriculum is pretty similar, but you know, different classes may be called something different. But the principles of anesthesia is basically like your basis of anesthesia. So it's like your nitty-gritty of anesthesia, how you manage your patient, how you create a care plan, create your preoperative plan, your intraoperative plan. You go from start to finish, considering all of their comorbidities, the medications, putting it together and knowing like, okay, for this particular patient, I would use this drug versus this drug. And kind of going through that. Of course, you have your airway management, you have your protocols, your MH, you also have, what am I trying to say? Your anesthesia gas machine, all of that. So I had principles 2, which I learned more so about the different cases. So endocrine, how you would use anesthesia with endocrine system, like diabetes, hyper to hypothyroidism, things of that nature, phytochromocytoma. I also learned about ortho cases, ENT cases, mechanical ventilation. Those are some of the things that I think we kind of got through all of the systems. So that class, I mean, I feel like that class is hard anyway, just because you really have to like piece everything together. There's so many different cases and so many things that it's just so much information. You can't possibly know everything. And especially the fact that I was just talking to a friend of mine as a CRNA. I was telling him how, you know, I can't wait to get to clinicals because of the fact that I feel like there's just some things you can't read in a textbook and really grasp. Like, you really have to go to clinicals, see it being done, really understand it visually to be able to piece everything that we've learned together. So that's really like a downside I've always said about having didactic first, is that, you know, you can't really visualize a lot of the things that you're learning, especially when it comes to like regional. So with regional, of course, if you don't know what regional is, that is all of your peripheral nerve blocks. That is your spinal anesthesia, and that is also your epidural catheter. One thing about regional anesthesia that I actually enjoyed was the lab when we were in school. Take for example, just even being new and being introduced to like spinals and epidurals. Like spinals, I didn't really know too much about. Epidurals, of course, like you having a baby, I don't want an epidural, do you want an epidural, all this other stuff. But actually like trying to visualize it, actually like physically being able to put in and place a spinal on the mannequin was actually really cool. When it came to learning about the brachial plexus and the different blocks, I found that like really, really interesting, especially when we had the opportunity to go to lab, using the ultrasound and really be able to visualize, okay, your inner scalene, your supraclavicular, your infraclavicular, the axillaries, like why with the axillary block you're missing your musculocutaneous nerve. Like learning about those things and actually like being able to see it was actually like really, really cool. So I felt like for me, it's funny because when I had that lecture, didn't even understand it. I was like, I literally was confused as fuck during the whole like, what in the world? But when I actually had the opportunity to actually go to my like lab and actually visually see it, I was like, okay, this actually makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you have the ultrasound here, you can see the trunks, you can see the cords, you can see, like, you can actually visualize it. Oh, and there's a really cool app that I use that I absolutely love. I will try to insert a little clip here. If you follow me on Instagram, which you really should be, I'm just saying. But if you follow me on Instagram, then you might have seen it in one of my stories. I will insert the little clip here, screen record of it. I found this app, I believe it's called Visible Body. I love this app. It's actually the first time I actually used the app for school, but when I tell you, it actually helps me a lot with the brachial plexus. I was able to really pinpoint, you know, where it was coming out from C5 to T1, visualize it and walk myself going through and like visualizing the chords, visualizing why the infraclavicular, why on the ultrasound you see the 3 cords wrap around the axillary artery. Like going through it with that app was like visually helpful. So I'll definitely link it down below, that way you can see it. But when I tell you, if you're even in nursing school, I believe that app will be so helpful for you. Definitely get it. But that helped me a lot. And then just learning about the peripheral blocks. I do have to say the lower extremity was probably the hardest one a little bit in the beginning, because we didn't have lab anymore. You know, that's when COVID-19 really hit us. So we didn't have lab to be able to like visually see it. But I got through it, read the chapter and all of that. So those are little things that were really helpful for me in being successful. And it's so crazy, you know how like at the end of the semester you're about to take finals, so you want to like calculate how much you need for in your class to still make an A. So I did all of that for all of my classes, and so I wrote down like what's the lowest grade, but I had completely forgot like what I needed. When I got my grade for my final exam, I was like, oh, 92, and I was like, I don't know if I have an A in the class. So I looked and I was like, oh shit, I literally got exactly what I wanted. And I was just like, thank you God. Like I got A in the class and I'm actually super happy. Like that really just like made my day, because I know how hard I worked in that class and I know how hard I studied as well. So it was just really, really rewarding just to see that I got an A. Even though, let me just put this as a disclaimer, getting an A does not make you a bomb-ass student. Like, let me just put that out there, because it doesn't make you like tier top. I know people that have gotten A's in nursing school that, to be honest, they weren't good nurses. Like, let's just be real, they weren't. Not all of them, but some of them are not the best nurse. So don't let, you know, people think that, oh, you need to get an A in the class or you need to strive. Like, yes, strive for an A, but like if you pass, you pass. Like, keep it moving. And that's something I had to learn in the beginning as well, because being Nigerian, it's always you need to get an A. But now I'm just like, look, as long as I pass this class and I'm moving on to next semester, I'm Gucci. Like, I'm good. Like, I just need to pass and finish. That's where I'm at. And then the very last class is Pharm. I don't really have much to say, but it doesn't really change from last semester to this semester. We learned about neuromuscular blockers, local anesthetics. We also learned about autonomic pharmacology, herbals, anticoagulants, and then we ended the semester with cardiovascular. Actually, this semester wasn't really bad. Cardiovascular was honestly my favorite, but the subjects or the class of medications that I really want to study a little bit more, just because I know them, but I really want to know them, if you feel me. Just because that is something that you're really going to be using a lot. Whenever you have somebody, you know, whether you're inducing a patient and they get hypotensive or hypertensive throughout the case, you have to pull out some esmolol, you have to pull out a beta blocker. You have to maybe even start a drip. You need to know why you're giving the drugs that you're giving and what situations you would use them for. Biggest thing I always say is cardiovascular and respiratory, they go hand in hand, so you need to know them like the back of your hand. Of course, like being a CRNA, you are the airway expert, so you definitely need to know the airway, but you also need to know cardiovascular, because almost majority of people do have some type of cardiac issue. So whether that's diagnosed or undiagnosed, you definitely need to know your cardiovascular drugs well. So that's something that I want to strive to do, especially during my break, which I only get 2 weeks, by the way. Yay. But that really just wraps up the entire semester. It was definitely nice being at home, I'm not gonna lie. Being at home, being able to just wake up, come upstairs, you know, listen to class in my PJs or whatever, just chilling is nice. However, sometimes I did feel like it was too lax, because sometimes it's just like, oh, you know, I can study here, I can study there. But I really had to like push myself to just, you know, keep pushing, keep striving to finish. Even though it was at home, didn't make it easy. It just made it a lot more, put pressure on you to just really stay on top of your material, because it's so easy to get so lax and easy just to fall off. Like, I was taking a full load and I still wanted to do well, you know what I mean? But that's really like my reflection. I think I did really well this semester. Super proud of myself, especially taking, you know, a full load, whereas some people didn't take a full load. Next semester, I'm taking 3 classes. I am taking Pharm 3, evidence-based, and translation of something. It's like another evidence research-based class. Summer semesters are always like, just because you have 16 weeks of material cut down into 8 weeks. So you have a ton of material to go over, a ton of material to review. Today we just reviewed a syllabus, which they actually changed the curriculum, or just that particular class, so much from last semester. So much from last year, I should say. Which honestly I feel like will be to our benefit, which is actually really good. Summer semester has always been, that class has been rumored to be very hard and like the make or break it semester. So they changed a lot. I'm actually surprisingly excited, just because we have online sim. That would be fun, just because we haven't had time to be in the lab because of this whole COVID thing. So being able to have the online sim, I think that would be really fun. We have a lot more opportunities in our class with just doing case studies. They're really just trying to get us prepared for clinicals. So I think this semester is going to be good. Even though it's shortened, we only have to go 1 day. I think this class is only 1 day a week. I don't know about the other ones. I think this semester is going to be really good. So I'm super excited to see like how the semester goes. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to y'all in a later video. Bye, y'all.